In this episode of Pop Culture Weekly, Fandango managing editor Erik Davis returns, and we talk about all of the upcoming summer of 2025 movies. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and I thank you once again for hanging out with me for another episode of Pop Culture Weekly. This week, there's no celebrity interviews. I have Fandango managing editor Erik Davis returning once again for every year they do this survey of, well, a couple of times a year, but the one we're talking about is, on trends and that sort of thing in the industry. And so Erik is joining me to talk about that and Fandango's list chosen by you of the most anticipated movies of summer 2025. So I'm excited to hear what the most anticipated movies of summer 2025 are, as chosen by you and Fandango readers. So let's just get right into it. Also, please note that, I told you last episode, but in case you missed it, which is a great one with Cate Blanchett, by the way, I broke my kneecap, which has been a very challenging, couple of months. In regards to mobility, I can't freaking drive, and you know me, I'm always everywhere, so it's been torture for me, as it is for anybody that's in this position. But I just wanted you to know why, there might be a delay in some things over the next, hopefully, only a few more weeks. And then I'll get right back to, being everywhere all the time, everywhere all at once. So anyway, just an update on me. If you've dealt with this, please hit me up and let me know. Go to our socials or whatever and at me and let me know what you did to go through it. I've been watching a lot of movies, obviously, but, even me, who's a giant movie buff, gets bored with watching multiple movies a day every single day. It's like I just can't sit in bed for 12 hours a day, But in any event, that's neither here nor there at this point because we're jumping right into our conversation with Fandango managing editor Erik Davis. So welcome back, first of all. Thank you so much, Fandango managing editor Erik Davis. Welcome back to Pop Culture Weekly. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm getting ready for a plethora of summer movie releases. I cannot wait. It is already feeling like summer in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, and Fandango just did a study big study, 5,000 people, I believe, on most anticipated summer films. Is that right?
Yeah, so we do a study. It's a movie-going trends and insights study. We do it every year around this time, leading into CinemaCon, which is a convention that happens in Las Vegas for the movie-going industry, for theater owners and what have you. The studios come, they present their upcoming slates, and so we get to see a lot of footage from films that are coming out later this year, even into next year. So we put together this study. We go out to thousands of Fandango ticket buyers, and not only are we looking for their most anticipated summer movies that are coming up, but also just, are they going to the movies more? If they're going to the movies more, what are they enjoying? What are they liking to do? And just getting a little bit of everything about the movie going experience in general.
So what are some of the surprising things? What are some of the non-surprising things? We'll start there.
I would say the non-surprising things, concessions still rule, right? I mean, over 90% of people, when they go to the movies, concessions are a big part of why they go to the movies. And I think people are excited to see that concessions are, we're seeing a lot more versatility when it comes to the concessions that are offered at the movie theater, from, alcohol to complete meals. I think we're seeing a lot more people interested in going to the movies, beyond just the popcorn and the soda. They want to get a larger experience when it comes to concessions. So concessions very much top of mind for people when they're going to the movies. I would say also people are going to more movies. I don't necessarily see that as much of a surprise because, now that we're sort of past COVID, we're past these Hollywood strikes, we are seeing a lot more interest and a lot more of a steady stream in the movies that are releasing. And so we're seeing a lot more interest for people to go back to the movies. So more people are interested in going to see more movies in 2025 than in 2024.
Okay. And what are some of the surprising things that you found in the study?
I'm going to say one of the, I would say it's in the middle of being a surprise and not a surprise, but premium large formats. And when I say that, I mean like IMAX movies, Dolby movies, 4DX, the way where the seats shake. These sorts of experiences are becoming a lot more popular. I think it was something like 77% of people that we surveyed that experience is front of mind for them when they're going to the movies. They're thinking about watching it in one of these sort of premium experiences. And I think that's up 16% over last year.
Wow.
And so that is definitely one of the bigger trends that we're seeing, is that people want to experience movies in IMAX, in Dolby. If they're going to go out to the movies for the evening, they want sort of the maximum experience that they can have, and so we're seeing that is a big trend as well. Also, ticket bundles. This is something that's relatively new, but, people being able to go to the movies and buy a ticket, but then also get a collectible item with that ticket. Whether it's like a trinket for Moana 2, we had like Disney collector pins that we gave out at Fandango with your ticket, or it's a popcorn bucket that, that's like a custom popcorn bucket.
Those things have been, there's like, not to interrupt, but I've seen so much action on social media of people like lining up to get Nosferatu coffin bucket or whatever it may be. And these people are like, it's crazy the demand there is for these cool kind of things. Sorry.
It is. Yeah, it is crazy. And this is something that we've really only seen kind of bubble up over the last year, but it's very smart. I think when I grew up going to the movies, I was one of those kids, and I don't know if you did this, but I collected my ticket stubs. And when a lot of people, when they go to the movies, maybe they're on a first date, or maybe they're taking their kids to the movies for the first time, or there's some other sort of, they're going to the theater with their parents and they haven't gone to the theater with their parents, or their friends, their new friend group, or whatever it is. But so many of us, when we go to the movies, it's like a moment that we want to remember. And so it's very smart, I think, for theaters and for Fandango to sort of tap into that, our human nature of wanting to collect things and remember the moment. And so that is something that we're seeing a lot more of. And these popcorn buckets have become, part of that cultural moment of going to the movies.
Yeah, it's so cool, and they're so creative. The people that are coming up with these are so creative in how they do it. I mentioned the Nosferatu one, which I'm a huge fan of Eggers and that film, and so that one particularly struck my fancy because it was like from the movie. It was like the, this like coffin tomb thing. And I was like, wow, of course, when I got to Regal, they were long gone. But yeah, I mean, and it's, you're kind of taking a piece of the movie home with you in a big way, which is cool, and it's like you said, one of those memento things that, is just for people like us that are such big film buffs are, I think is just a cool thing. And now it's leaking into the kind of general public too.
Exactly. Yeah. I just saw the other day, they're re-releasing Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars movie. And they have like a big Darth Vader popcorn bucket, and not only do I love, like, I don't know, the camp of these kinds of popcorn buckets, but I also think they're smart promotional devices. And it's sort of, it's like, I remember talking to friends when they had the crazy Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket. And they were like, I didn't even know there was a Deadpool and Wolverine movie until I saw the popcorn bucket.
Wow.
And so I think it's also a really great promotional device. And part of that survey were people saying that, like, these sort of collectible items like popcorn buckets, like pins, I think for Captain America at Fandango, we had these like collectible coins. That's been another hot button topic people really like. So these kinds of things have just, I think not just sort of raised interest in movie going and given people sort of something that they can collect and remember the experience by, but they're also functioning as these sort of promotional devices of getting into these corners of the internet, so to speak, that where maybe people aren't necessarily familiar with Nosferatu, but they discovered the movie through the coffin popcorn bucket that they couldn't get when they got to the theaters. But then I don't know what that's going for on eBay. But it just goes to show you that there is an audience and a fandom for these kinds of things.
What other kind of surprising things did you find? Because 5,000 people it's a big survey, big sample size.
Yeah, I think one other interesting item was that, we asked people, where are you discovering movies these days? And 59%, and I believe this may have been the first time, but the majority of people are now discovering movies on social media. 54% television advertising. So TV, the way I always discovered a new movie was the trailer was on TV. I was like, oh, wow, I guess this is being made. But now it's a whole different ball game. And while TV broadcasting is still, 54%, still a really big place for discovery, now social media has taken the front seat in terms of where people are finding out about movies for the first time. And I think, it's not necessarily unexpected, the rise of social media. And, a lot of people are discovering things, vis-a-vis Instagram and TikTok. And it's just a really interesting new evolution of movie marketing and discovery. So I thought that was another pretty interesting item on there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did you get into any, I know from the circles I frequent and, myself, like one of the pain points I have with movies is cell phone use and talking and that sort of thing. And I see a lot and hear a lot of people complaining about that. Did that register at all in the survey?
We didn't really see that as a big factor, or a deterrent, and I think there's, I feel like there's pockets of that, and we actually see movie theaters now. Another interesting thing that I saw from the study was that, the sort of growing up, there was the multiplex, right? And the multiplex kind of just took over, the area, and you went to just the multiplex. There were like 15 movie theater screens, and that was it. But now we're sort of seeing the movie theaters transition into kind of entertainment centers. So you go to the movies, but there's also a bar there in the lobby. There's also like an arcade. There's also a bowling alley. And then you also have sort of theaters like the Alamo Drafthouse who take sort of talking and texting very seriously. But then you also have theaters where, they'll have screenings where you can text in the movie or you can use your phone, and they'll advertise for that as well, because there are some people that wanted to go to the movies, but they also want to be able to be on their phone at the same time. I don't understand these people. I don't know where they exist, but they do. So I think what we're seeing from the industry is just an evolution that touches everything that people want when they go to the movies, whether or not you want to text. Maybe there's a screening where you can go do that. Or if you want to make a whole night of it and you just want to go to one place, you can now do that. I just went to one of the most successful Alamo Drafthouse theaters in Brooklyn, New York. And I just went there recently, and they have this really crazy bar in the lobby that's got all these like funky, like horror masks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was great. And they have like themed drinks, and you can kind of go there and have a drink before the film or after the film or during the film. And I just think that, the evolution of the experience is something that I think we really saw resonating on the survey, and that people are a lot more interested in maximizing the experience of going to the movies, and trying to pair it with an arcade or bar or bowling alley.
I love that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive back in to our discussion with Erik Davis, and we're going to get into the top most anticipated films of the summer of 2025. Be back in 30. All right. Thank you for helping us pay the bills. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. We are back, and we're going to jump right back into our conversation with Fandango managing editor Erik Davis. And later, we're going to jump into the most anticipated films of summer of 2025. This summer looks like it's going to be huge. There's a lot of things I'm excited for. What were your what are your, first of all, looking forward to most with all of these giant blockbusters coming?
I mean, if you're talking to me personally, I'm going to say the top of my list is the Mission Impossible movie. I'm a dork for the Mission Impossible movies. I just think they give you everything that you want in like an experience of going to the movies. But I also remember like when I was a young kid, like one of the first things I remember talking to my dad about movies, he would always say Tom Cruise is a guy that gives you your money's worth. When you go to, this is like pre-Mission Impossible even too. And it always stuck with me, and it especially sticks with me when I watch these Mission Impossible movies, and I watch this guy like literally risking his life to entertain us. And I'm thinking like, if I'm going to take money out of my wallet and go to the movies, like I'm going to invest in that guy, that's like putting his life on the line to make sure I have a good time at the movie. So, that Mission Impossible movie also, the word final is in the title, The Final Reckoning. This could be the last one. This could be, tie up the whole franchise. And so for me personally, like that's my jam. That's number one on the list. On our list, it's number 3. So it is very important for people, and they're really excited about it. And so that one for me is really up there. I would say beyond that, I'm a big Marvel nerd. I love the comic book movies, the Fantastic Four.
That's my number one.
Yeah, that's our number 2. It's number 2 on the top 10, probably my number 2 as well behind Mission. But I think there's, yes, we've seen Fantastic Four movies in the past, but this is the first one from Marvel Studios. They just announced the fact that cast is always also going to be part of the Avengers movie, So I think there's a lot of excitement about the Fantastic Four returning to the screen. That cast as well, I think, is really great. So that's another one that I'm really excited about. And then if I were to give you a third one, I'd probably go, it's hard. Superman. I'm really excited for the return of Superman. I'm a big fan of James Gunn, who wrote and directed the film. Yeah. I think he's going to do something really fun there. Or the horror movie 28 Years Later. Yes. Big fan of Danny Boyle. Yeah. To know that he's returning to that franchise, it makes me excited about what we have in store for that.
So I want people to go to, and we'll have all the show in the show notes and all the links, but so they can see the full list there. But what is starting with number 5? What was the big number 5?
So number 5 is a Marvel movie. It's Thunderbolts. That's actually going to be the next Marvel Studios film that we see. That most of that cast as well was just announced in this 5.5-hour live stream that Marvel Studios did earlier this week on announcing what they say is part of the cast of Avengers Doomsday, which is already over 20 people. So that's part of the cast, just to give you an idea of what that film is going to be like. Yeah. But Thunderbolts is sort of like this ragtag. I kind of say it's almost like Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad, where they get like these anti-heroes. Some of these characters were villains in other films, and they're all going to have to team up in like an Avengers style of movie in order to sort of quell some big threat that the Avengers are not around to take care of. So that film looks a lot of fun. I really like what they're doing with their marketing campaign. Florence Pugh, who stars, compares it to like, this is like Marvel's idea of like an A24 movie or a movie. Yeah. So, that reeks of them taking some chances with this film that maybe they haven't necessarily done before. So I really like that film, and I can't wait to see that. That's at number 5.
What about number 4?
So Superman. Superman is at number 4. This is a reboot, not only just kind of a reboot of Superman. David Cornsweet is now our new Superman, Clark Kent. But this is also a big film for James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Studios. This is their first film that's going to kind of launch their new universe for DC. And so can't wait to see, not only is Superman in it, but there's a Green Lantern in it, and there's other, characters that are in it as well. But there's also your classic Lex Luthor played by Nicholas Hoult and Lois Lane played by Rachel Brosnahan. What I love about this film is that, yes, it's a reboot of Superman, but it's not an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to get dropped into Superman has been Superman. He's been doing his thing. And, we're going to tell a story at this moment in time. And so not only am I looking at it as like, can't wait. I just love Superman. I can't wait to see what James Gunn does with it, but also I can't wait to see how this sets sort of the groundwork for what's to come in this master plan that they have for DC Studios.
Yeah. And there's, what's his name? The Superdog.
Krypto.
Thank you. Which I love. It makes me nervous, but I love James Gunn. So I am eagerly interested in how he will work Krypto into it all. So
yes, exactly. And what's interesting about that is that Krypto wasn't part of the movie, but then James adopted a dog. And the dog went kind of ballistic on him and like just tore up his house and all that stuff, and it just kind of inspired him to like bring Krypto into the Superman movie to sort of be that kind of companion, but also that thorn in his side. Right. And so I actually really love it. I think it's just going to be a very relatable aspect of Superman for people, but also very different. We haven't seen this before. So yeah, I think Krypto is going to be is going to steal some thunder from the spotlight of Superman for sure.
Yeah, if there's anybody that can do this kind of side of Superman, I think it's James Gunn. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with,
Exactly. Yeah. I think he does a really great job of telling stories that are action packed, but also emotional. Mm-hmm. And they also make you laugh.
Yeah.
And when you can do all three of those things in a blockbuster film, I feel like that's when you're successful, because your audience is constantly feeling a different emotion. And that I feel like is when you walk out, that's what makes a movie memorable.
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite movie experiences ever was seeing Guardians of the Galaxy in the theater for the first time. And it made me think to myself, I wonder if this is how people felt when they saw Star Wars in the movies for the first time, because I just had this sense of awe and just like, I'm just watching, on this big screen. And that has just stuck with me. And it's so, the DNA of that is James Gunn,
Exactly. Yeah. So I can't wait to see what he does with Superman.
So third, what's number 3?
So we talked a little bit about it already. It's my number 1. It is Mission Impossible, right? Final Reckoning. And Tom Cruise is back. He is, of course, doing death-defying stunts. This is going to pick up sort of after the last film, Dead Reckoning, Part 1, or Dead Reckoning now. So I would say maybe catch up on that. But also, their tagline is everything has led to this. So if you've ever wanted to do a little bit of a marathon of Mission Impossible movies, now is the time to do that.
Yeah.
We have them all at Fandango at home. You can binge watch, you can catch up, because I do think that this is going to be a film that touches a little bit of every one of those previous Mission Impossible movies. The crew is back, Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames. So, you got the crew there. And I'm curious to see, how final is this reckoning? Is this going to be the last mission for Ethan Hunt? Or will they leave the door open for more Mission Impossible movies? I'm selfish. I could watch these movies for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But then again, what are these movies without Mr. Tom Cruise? So, so we'll see what this film has in store for us as the audience and as Mission Impossible fans. But like I said, I can't wait for this. I think they're always fun. There's a bit of mystery and intrigue. There's the action element of it. There's the ensemble element of it. I've always, there's always some heist element as well. And like that, these kinds of movies just feed every aspect of why I love summer blockbuster movie making. So I can't wait. I think Christopher McQuarrie, who's directed the last few Mission Impossible movies, A really great collaborator with Tom Cruise. I think the two of them connecting and collaborating for the last several years has been one of the greatest decisions of Tom Cruise's career. I'll say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Number 2, you said, is Fantastic Four First Steps, which is my number 1. And I love that they're going with the kind of 60s retro-futuristic kind of vibe. So I'm really curious how that all ties in. And it also makes me wonder if there will be any other Marvel MCU characters that may make an appearance, in the past. What's number 1?
So this one may be a bit of a surprise, but it is Jurassic World Rebirth, and when we put out this survey, I saw a lot of comments from people being like, Jurassic, really? Like, that's the number 1 movie? But I always say, don't underestimate the power of the Jurassic franchise. Yeah. People love the dinosaurs. I think this one sort of is looking like it's a back to basics. If the last Jurassic movie was sort of like the Avengers ending of Jurassic movies, right? It's like, we're going to take the old cast, we're going to take the new cast, we're going to put dinosaurs all over the world and like just go bananas with it. And now they're sort of scaling back at an island. It looks like there's a bit of a heist mission that has to happen. Great cast: Jonathan Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali. So you have 3 really powerful performers there. And it's the kind of Jurassic that I like. My favorite Jurassic movies were movies that were on the island where there was a lot of action, but there was also this like claustrophobic, kind of tone, that underbelly to a Jurassic movie where it was scary, but it was also exciting, and sort of finding that connection in a Jurassic movie. That's when it really sings. Like, I want to be scared, but I also want to be like on the edge of my seat, like really excited watching what's happening. So this movie, at least in the early marketing materials and trailers that we've seen, looks to kind of have a lot of that essence to it. And maybe that's why it's really resonating. I think also our audience at Fandango really loves Scarlett Johansson. Her movies are always on these surveys if she's in it. And for good reason. She's a great actress. So I think, Jurassic being at the top there, I kind of like it. I like how it kind of pushed the Marvel movies aside and said, no, dinosaurs are the biggest species in the world. We deserve, right, this number 1 spot. But I like it. I like that it's at the top there. And you look at that July this year, Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, and the Fantastic Four First Steps. It's got to be one of the biggest months of movies we've seen, in years. Yeah. You go pre-2020 without a doubt. So, the summer movie season is coming at us, and they're throwing out some big stuff, and it looks really exciting. And that they aren't even the only 3 movies in July. We have another I Know What You Did Last Summer movie as well. So there's just a lot coming out this summer. We just talked a lot about the action movies, but also on this list, 28 Years Later, the horror movie. And then for families, there's a live action How to Train Your Dragon movie at number 8, a live action Lilo and Stitch movie, which my kids are obsessed with. Number 9, a sequel to Freakier Friday at number 10. So, to juxtapose the action and the superhero movies, we have these really sort of familiar family movies that people are really excited to see.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing summer. I can't wait. Erik, thank you as always. Where's the best hub to get all of this?
Yeah, I would say download the Fandango app without a doubt. Have that in your wallet at all times. Fandango.com for sure. And then follow us at Fandango on all social media channels for the latest and the greatest.
Erik Davis, thank you as always. It's always a pleasure talking shop with you, and I will talk to you very soon. Erik Davis. Always love when he's on Pop Culture Weekly. He is a fountain of knowledge on the industry, and not just the industry in general, but on movies and films and series. And he's he's such a great guy. He's a fanboy just like me. And I always love talking to him about this, and you seem to love listening whenever he's on the show. So always great to have him. Next episode, we have some very cool guests that I can't wait to share with you. I'm not even gonna hint because I'm just so excited. So in any event, I will see you next episode. I love ya. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
It's your most anticipated summer movies of 2025. It's your most anticipated summer movies of 2025, yeah.